Don't start wholesaling real estate till you watch this video. Guys, my name is Ginn, and today's video, I'm gonna show you how to simply get started in wholesaling real estate the right way. And if you've learned wholesaling in the last 7 years from anybody in the industry, I would completely do a 180 and change your direction because the old methods aren't gonna work. Before we get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe notification to continue to receive the best up-to-date wholesaling videos. So that's right, I said if you've learned wholesaling in the last 7 years, especially from a guru on the internet, I'm here to tell you it ain't gonna work in 2023. The perfect storm aligned for the market actually over the last 7 to 10 years, and you will most likely never see a market like that again. Let's review. You had the most historic, lowest interest rates in the United States history for a long sustained period. People getting mortgages at 2 to 3%. No wonder why they would pay almost anything for a property, because all they did was focus on the monthly cash flow. Then you had cash buyers that had an insatiable appetite to buy anything and everything and pay at market rates or above market rates for crappy properties that were really wholesale deals, but wholesalers were selling them like retail properties. And to make the perfect storm even better, we were coming out of the worst real estate market in history from 2012 on, which means it could have only gone up. And to add insult to injury, we throw a pandemic on it. Guys, it didn't take a rocket scientist to be successful in wholesaling in the last 7 years. And these same people that taught you how to buy properties at a tiny little discount and find a cash buyer that will pay over retail value, those days are over. I want to show you and share with you today on how the fundamentals of real estate wholesaling actually works and teach you how to do this for the rest of your life. Because if you learned it in the last 7 years prior to 2023 and you apply those principles, you are going to be frustrated. Most of these people that taught you are completely out of the business. Let's get into it. So I'm going to just basically run you through the fundamentals of how wholesalings work, and understanding I'm giving you a 20 plus year backbone experience of how I've been so successful in wholesaling. And I'm going to tell you, from 2012-13 to 2022, honestly, that was not wholesaling what was going on. So that's why you had such a glut of gurus saying, oh, you can make money so easy. I'm going to be honest with you, you could make money easy, but it was temporary. And all those people are struggling. That's why they're going on and they're going to be day traders. They're going to open up you an Amazon store. They're going to open up some sort of MLM and move on to the next scam. Wholesaling is not a scam. The way it's been done the last 7 years, absolutely. So let's review the fundamentals of wholesaling. Number one, to truly put together a great wholesale deal, you have to have a motivated seller. If there's not some sort of motivating factor, either financial, deferred maintenance, or a time crunch, there is no deal in wholesaling. Very rarely does a wholesale deal work without a motivated seller. So it's your job, rule number one, that you focus on the motivation of the seller. And if there's absolutely no motivation, ask yourself, is this person actually going to be willing to sell me a property at a discount? And if the answer is no, move on and find other motivated sellers. You see, the last 7 years, people just tell you to get a tiny little discount and find a cash buyer that will pay more. Cash buyers aren't doing that anymore, and it doesn't work. And honestly, I've struggled with this for the last 7 years because that's not how I learned this business. And now it's coming home to root. So now your number one priority in wholesaling houses, if you're going to do this for a real business, is you have to key on and focus on motivated sellers. Number two, you actually have to put properties under contract for the correct price. And not that you're always going to get this 100% perfect, but in the last 7 years, everyone's just been throwing numbers on the wall. And if it works, great. If not, they try to renegotiate it. No, you actually have to make sense. You actually have to determine what the ARV is after you determine their motivation. Once you do that, you have to figure out what the real repairs are. And within 10 minutes, you want to come up with an instant offer. And I say that because you can't spend a lot of time in this, because the reality is if the proper motivation is not there, it doesn't matter what offer you make. You're just going to waste your time. I don't want you to operate as a realtor. You see, a realtor will spend 2 hours doing a comp. A wholesaler never spends more than 10 minutes. minutes doing a comp. So once you have the right motivation, the best strategy is to go for the no. If you want to learn more how to do this, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to do it. Well, Rick, I don't want to get a no. Listen, you are not in the previous 7 years of wholesaling from 2022 to 2013-14. The reality of what you want to do is you want to make an offer with a seller you have built rapport with, you have an amazing conversation, and you want to have your offer rejected. Why? Because I want to get a counter offer out of them so I can start a negotiation. If you want to get a yes, you are going to approach your MAO, your maximum allowable offer, and when they say no to that, you're done. You have to leave the property and it's not going to work. And here's the key part is the higher you go in your offer, their number goes up. It's psychological. It's just how humans work. So I want you to go for a no. This technique is painful up front, but it's how effective business leaders lead their business to find the profit. Honestly, you'll save yourself hours of negotiation by using my method called Go for No. It's at freewholesaling.com. Check it out, guys. It works. Have those wildly uncomfortable conversations up front to make wholesaling easier on the back end. If you don't believe me, try it. When gurus try to teach you how to go on MLS, make offers to real estate agents and you have no experience, that means it's easy up front and it'll almost be impossible on the back end. Those are the strategies you have to avoid as a beginner. You need to focus on motivated sellers and off-market properties. And I want you to understand this. To be truly successful at wholesaling, you cannot treat it like a hobby. These people that go on the internet and go, oh, I just went out and I contracted 3 properties and it's a piece of cake and I'm off to Europe. It's just not the reality of this business. You're being lied to. It takes real hard work and dedication. You have to spend an enormous amount of time on marketing. You have to spend a ton of time talking to sellers, and you have to do it over and over every day, sometimes 6-7 days a week. Why does nobody tell you about this? Because it doesn't sell in coaching programs. You see, I can lay out all the foundation in the world to show you how to do wholesaling, and I do at freewholesaling.com. Here's the secret part that nobody wants to share with you. You actually have to show up and work this business. And if you have a job and you have obligations, you are going to have to figure out the best use of the 24 hours in your day, because you get the exact same time as I get. You're just going to have to find out what your priority in life is. You have to work this business. This is not an extreme part-time business where you dabble a little bit here and there. Wholesaling has never been that way. It's never worked that way. And honestly, if someone's told you it works out that way, it sounds too good to be true. It most likely is. I'm here to tell you 20 plus years experience. You have to work at wholesaling. So let's talk about what's really changed in wholesaling really in the last 7 to 10 years. And there's some fundamental changes that you have to adapt so you can make modern offers to sellers that actually is going to work. So number one, there are no more reckless cash buyers out there. Those cash buyers that were paying slightly below retail or at retail levels, or in some instances even above retail, they're gone. They're all highly conservative and then they're making their offers. They think the market could crash at any moment and they are going to beat you up on price, and they're going to beat you up bad. A lot of them are going to go in and attack 70%. In my opinion, 70% is not the reality of this business, but that's what cash buyers are thinking right now. So if you think you can buy a property at 90% and get a cash buyer that's already told you he doesn't want to pay more than 70%, here's the trick. It's not so much the percentage, it's the perceived ARV. So if you can figure out what the right ARV is, it doesn't matter if you use 70 or not. We're never going to do 90%. That is realtor land. But you're going to have to be 83% or lower to make almost any deal work out in wholesaling. Prove me wrong. There's just no meat on the bone past that. So cash buyers are not reaching nearly as far as they did in the last 7 years. And you have to understand that. You actually are going to have to spend time with your cash buyers, and you're going to have to gather intel from them. The more intel you get, the better you can make educated offers. The second change that we all have to be aware of is data is much more readily available. And as great as it's readily available to us, problem is it's as easily accessible to your sellers. And sellers, even though most of them don't know the value of their property, they know what Zillow tells them it's worth. And between Zillow, Trulio, Realtor.com, and all these other fancy services, they pretty much have determined what the value of their home is. So you have to know what those numbers are. And if you know the seller's going to be armed with this data, be prepared for it. Know what it is and make sure you have some counter arguments prepared, because honestly, simply, Mr. Seller, I know your Zillow estimate says your house is worth $380,000, but the reality is your roof is 26 years old, the AC is not working, and you haven't updated the house in the last 22 years. So if we could get it up to par, I agree, we might be able to get that number, but we have to see what the house can afford. Let's go through the numbers. You see, you're going to have to overcome the objections of data, of the seller knowing what the value is and understanding how they came to it, why they're using that number, and what the correct number needs to be. No longer the days where you just tell them what you're going to offer and it's a yes or no. Sellers are armed with a lot of information. So are we. So let's prepare for it. So when you make your offers, you need to be prepared for the counter. And let's think about it. The days of going to the internet and relying on a guru or a coach to teach you the wholesaling business, here's the problem is there is no barriers to entry to this business. And honestly, I can't control it. And anybody who wants to help you out, then I think that's great. But the reality is most of them just want to help out their pocketbook. There are people with 2 and 3 months experience trying to teach you how to do wholesaling. TikTok has opened up a whole new world. The amount of people I see on TikTok with zero experience in the wholesaling field is actually scary to me. And as a fellow wholesaler that's on TikTok with 21 years experience, I'm here to tell you, you now need to vet who you sign up with coaching, if it's paid or free. Make sure they are active in the business. Make sure they have at least a couple hundred deals under their belt. And honestly, I'd like to see someone with 10 years or more experience. I'm not saying there aren't some young people that are very creative in how they do their wholesaling business, but the reality is they don't have the experience to be telling you what you need to do. They need to go on their own journey, and time will prove if they are who they say. You cannot take a risk with your time with unproven people because their marketing pitch sounds so sexy. If you do that, you are going to be in a world of hurt. Focus on people that have a proven track record and make sure they're still active in the business. And if you're not sure if they're active in the business, just ask them for their last 3 HUDs. It is that simple. If they come up with a long-winded story, take the clue. It means they're not doing the business. Why would you take directions from somebody running a TikTok filming school and they don't actually do the business? Why? Because someone told them they could be the coach of the year by teaching what their passion is. The problem is they have never taken the time to finish their own journey. Let them finish the journey. Time will tell. Make sure you vet whoever you get advice from in the wholesaling industry. So let me give you the basic fundamentals on how to move forward and operate. So if you want to get a clear, more detailed path on how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. Me and my son have created a 100% free course. We've had it out there for 3 years. And all I do is add to it. Why? Because I want to help as many people get their first deal. And not only the first deal, get to their first $100,000 deal. So the first thing you have to do to get started in wholesaling, you understand you have to seek motivation first. If a seller doesn't have motivation, do not comp the property. Do not go visit the seller. Do not waste your time because you're going to wind up in realtor land. And unless you just want to list the property and you look for a small commission, that is not wholesaling. If they are not motivated, the odds of getting a good deal are pretty much slim to none. Number 2, you've got to learn to become a list ninja. So the easiest way to get started in wholesaling is you got to get a prospect list. This longer the list, the better, but the shorter the list, make sure the quality is there. How do you get that list? Go to freewholesaling.com. I teach it in grave detail, but government lists are the secret. Tax delinquencies, code violations, probates, evictions, water shutoffs, fire damage. Wherever there's smoke, there's fire, and that's where you need to go find a motivated seller. I want you to become a list ninja. The better you get at building these lists, the better your results are going to be when you start marketing and meeting with sellers. If you have a crappy list, there's nothing you can do. And by the way, going with on-market properties on MLS through a real estate agent, in my opinion, is the worst way to start off wholesaling with no experience. Prove me wrong. It's very, very hard. See, it seems very simple on paper, but the reality is it's going to be very difficult conversations because the odds of getting a deal are going to be slim to none. The next one is, for God's sake, stop comparing yourself to everybody on the internet. Most of it's a lie anyways. And if you're trying to compare yourself to someone that's being fake, what are you doing? You're just making yourself feel bad. You need to just get 1% better every day, and you need to be you. So the comparison is robbing you of becoming a better person. You have no idea if you're trying to compare yourself to someone you have no knowledge of. Are they actually doing deals? Is that deal legit or real? Listen, celebrate their wins, use it as motivation, but don't use it as a comparison because you are in a race with yourself. You are a marathon runner, not a sprinter. Act like it. Next one is you've got to show up every day. You have to be extremely consistent. You can't take off weeks in wholesaling and expect to have amazing results. Those that actually show up for wholesaling do the best. What I mean by show up every day. Get your marketing in, get all your calls in, make your appointments, do your follow-ups, and be extremely disciplined. Remember, you can only disappoint yourself in this business. You have to step up and be consistent every day in wholesaling. If you're struggling with wholesaling, I'm going to give you a fail-safe program. Now, these are the deals that are on the edge. You can't quite get the seller to the number. And guys, this happens all the time. The reality is we don't want to put properties under contract that we don't think it's going to work because I don't want you to work for free. So you can use a technique we call reverse wholesaling. So it's when you get a seller down to the final number and they just won't budge. They go, Rick, no matter what you say, I'm not going to go any lower. Now, maybe time and circumstance changes the number, but instead of walking away completely with them, you can simply go out and make a phone call to your vetted cash buyers list. The keyword is vetted. These are people that are legitimate cash buyers who say, listen, if I found you a 2-2 in this zip code in this area, what would you pay for it? And try to find out their numbers. So if I have a property at $150,000 and the buyer says, listen, I'll pay $155,000, I would go ahead and put that property under contract with an inspection period, the longer the better, and then you reverse wholesaling it, because now you know what your cash buyer will pay for it. Now, I want you to make more than $5,000, but why not take the profit while it's there? That way, on the deals that are marginal, I don't want to write a contract on every marginal deal because sometimes they just don't work out, and I don't want to unwind the contract because I don't think the numbers can work. Every now and then there is a cash buyer that'll pay more. If you do the reverse wholesaling technique, the key is you cannot give that cash buyer the address. You just give them the proximity. If they confess they would pay more, go ahead and put it on their contract, put an inspection period, and then assign your contract to that cash buyer. That is simple reverse wholesaling. That's how I actually got started in wholesaling. And you can do that to minimize your risk, especially if you're new to the business and you have marginal deals. Spend more time working with your cash buyers, getting intel, and you can put these types of deals together all the time. And last but not least, be accountable to yourself. Stop trying to rely on gurus and coaches to make you accountable. They're not going to. You've already paid their fee. If you succeed or fail, they've already won. So I believe most people want you to succeed, but you have to want it more than anybody else. If you are accountable to yourself and stop lying to yourself and tell yourself the truth, then you can fix any problem you have in life. Wholesaling is no different. If you are not doing what you need to do and you're being lazy and you're not committing to yourself and being extremely consistent and disciplined, step up, be accountable to yourself, because if you let yourself down, you will let everybody else down. Be accountable. There is only one you. You have to step up if you're going to make it in wholesaling. So guys, that's it. I want you to understand, do not try to do wholesaling like it has in the last 7 years. It doesn't work. And honestly, it was an anomaly what was happening. Crazy conditions on our market. We went from the lowest real estate crash ever, meaning prices so low, to the lowest interest rates in history, to crazy cash buyers, to a pandemic. Stop trying to build your business off of gurus that only profited during this short period and are completely lost right now. But you let me know in the comments, are you doing it the old way the last 7 years? Or have you switched to the fundamentals of wholesaling in 2023? I would love to know in the comments. And guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe and notification button. And this is Rick Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video.